Thank you so much.
So I'm Tara Hamdi and I'm the founder of Only Rescues. In terms of background, so I live in London with my husband and our two rescue dogs. And my background is all in charity, actually. I've always worked for charities, never an animal welfare one. And then we started Only Rescues around 2.5, nearly 3 years ago.
I guess my key point would be, how did you kind of come up with the idea of Only Rescues? Obviously, like, it's such an amazing idea, and I'm actually surprised it's not already out there.
Yeah, that's one of the main things we always hear, like, no one's done it before. And we say no. So the way Only Rescues came about was it was actually when our rescue dog Max passed away, April 2022. And I was so unbelievably heartbroken by it. I always knew I'd be upset by my dog dying. Of course, everyone would be. But I couldn't believe the extent to which the grief took over my life. I really kind of stopped functioning for a long time. In those weeks and months after he died, I actually became just completely unreasonable, and I wouldn't talk about anything at all that wasn't how can we help rescue dogs and cats. Literally to the point that my husband would say things like, "Oh, should we make some dinner?" And I'm like, "Don't be ridiculous! Us having dinner is not going to help the rescue dogs." Like, I was just a totally unreasonable person. And so every conversation we had was, how can we help dogs and cats? What can we do? How can we get them homes? How can we make their lives better? And that's when I think it was my husband actually said, "What about sort of Tinder for rescue pets?" And I was like, "No, being ridiculous again." But then we talked through the idea and how it would, kind of be a vehicle to find homes for them, and it really just took off from there.
That sounds amazing. I love that idea, though. It's kind of, it's Tinder but for pets, because I think, I don't know about anyone else, but I think a lot of people's attention spans are quite short as well. So kind of doing it through the traditional way or the traditional channels, some people might be turned off by the process, where it almost sounds like you kind of gamified it and made it a bit more fun and relaxing, and pull people in better than, traditionally having to go through websites or even like even newspaper columns and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where so we did a lot of research into the idea before we launched it, and we spoke to so many people who said it's the whole process is quite fragmented of trying to adopt a rescue pet, and it's going to multiple different websites, trawling through all these websites, filling in different forms here, there, and everywhere, and then being rejected by some, and then waiting to hear back from that one, and waiting to hear back from them, and everyone kind of seemed to have a similar experience. I'm sure not everyone. I mean, people, adopt pets all the time, but we were just hearing the same things again and again. It's a really difficult process. And so that was really a lot of where it came from, was let's put it all into one app. And exactly like you say, kind of a more fun way of looking through it, the swiping through it. So you can swipe right for yes and left for no. And dating apps have been around for over 20 years now. So it's actually familiar technology that people know now, and sort of, we're familiar with it. Whether you've used one yourself, I'm not asking, or if you've seen, most people have seen a friend use it at least. So it's become really familiar and like an easy way to, use an app.
No, definitely. That sounds amazing. So I guess the big question today is obviously something that's talked about time and time again. Obviously, a lot of people say, adopt, don't shop. So what is, from your perspective, like, why should people use your app to adopt rather than to go to any like a local breeder or something like that?
Yeah, so I mean, it's really hard when you work in the rescue world and you just see these amazing, amazing dogs and cats who are just full of love and just want a home. And you could see them sat there and you're like, oh, that's a brilliant, wonderful, amazing animal. And then you just see someone go off and buy a dog somewhere else, or put their name down on a list for pets that don't even exist yet. They put their names down on a list for litters. And that's, creating a new life to bring into the world, while these guys are just sat there in the shelter and have nowhere to go. And it's so frustrating. And I understand it. I'm not judging. It's just the frustration of seeing those dogs sat there, and you see people who want to give a pet a home. You're like, oh, brilliant. those two will match up. Perfect. And then they don't. Instead, those people go off somewhere else over here and start a whole new kind of chain. And that's just that's the frustration. I mean, at any one time, there's around 250,000 dogs in the UK without a home and 150,000 cats in the UK without homes. And it's just hard to see those huge numbers, know there's people out there that want to put their pets in homes, and they don't always match up. I mean, for me, it will always be rescue. That's always, we would only ever rescue. And we've just had the most amazing rescue pets. I think there's still this huge stigma around rescue dogs and rescue cats, that they're all going to come with a huge amount of problems and they're aggressive and they can't go off lead and they can't live with children. And for sure, there are animals out there like that. There's also puppies. There's also really gentle. I mean, we've got two quite big dogs who are the softest things. We had some family around at the weekend and they were just in the middle of everyone, kids and adults, and just enjoying the vibes and playing along. And it's so nice to see. And they're, street dogs that would otherwise have, not made it had humans not intervened. So to see them now having barbecue burgers and having a great life is so lovely. And it is that you can see they're so grateful, they're so happy. And I don't know, maybe you do get that with a pet that you bought from a breeder. I don't have that experience, but you see they're just so relieved to not be in the situation that they were in before, and they've just got this new life. They're so grateful. Our dogs are so happy to be on the sofa because they never had anything soft before, and then you can just see them look at you like, are you sure this is okay? And you're like, yeah, you can lie there, that's fine. And they're like, oh my God. And it's just those little things. I think it's just, you get that love and that affection that is on a different level because they're so grateful, and they're please don't leave, let us have this forever. And it's just it's really amazing to see.
It's definitely such a heartwarming thing. I think as well is that, relating back to there's the stigma of like, oh, if they're in the shelter, maybe they're problematic or they can't work well. Obviously, no matter what you do, whether you buy from a breeder or you adopt, there is some training involved with, or like, so there's going to be some learning stuff, like even with cats as well. Okay, you don't necessarily train cats like you would dogs, but the cats are still going to have to get used to the environment and figure out how it all works, where things are supposed to be, where you're going to keep the litter tray and everything else. So I think, although okay, yeah, there are more problematic dogs, but they're not all like problematic. Not all pets are going to be that way, that are looking for homes. Sometimes people rehome them, unfortunately, because they can't afford the upkeep, or they wherever they're moving to doesn't accept pets, which really breaks my heart, the amount of properties now that just like no pets. And it's like, well, but like pets are such an amazing part of people's lives, and they are like family as well.
Absolutely. I mean, some new law did come into effect recently for renting that I think landlords now have to have a good reason not to accept a pet.
Very reasonable reason, not just because I said so.
Yes, exactly. Which is a great step forward. Whether or not it's we see landlords following that, and we see that being enforced, I don't know, but remains to be seen. But it's a great step forward, definitely, because I can't imagine that decision of having to give up your pet because you're just really struggling to find somewhere to live with your pet. It must be absolutely heartbreaking. It's really, really unfair on families. As you say, they're a member of your family. So to not be able to bring them with you is awful.
I think, it's, at the end of the day, it's like, no matter what, where the pets have come from, what's their background, I think, just being able to be that place, you've got that enough love to give for another family member or furry family member. I think people just should hold that in mind, no matter what decision they make. Is just holding on to the stigmas is always like a really terrible thing to do, because like unless you do the research, like there might just be ones where it's like, yeah, like you said, there are puppies in the shelter as well who maybe got rescued from the streets or like a bad breeder situation. So like you can still have a younger dog if you want, but like also the older dogs should get loads of love, because they're coming to the end of their lifespan and they should get as much love as the puppy.
Absolutely. I mean, there is a special place in my heart for anyone that adopts a senior dog. They are real angels on earth. It's so beautiful because you're taking on a heartbreak, and that heartbreak's coming soon, and yet to do it anyway, it is really, 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 those people are really amazing, and I have a lot of love for them. But yeah, I mean, exactly. When we kind of, when we set up Only Rescues, again, we did a lot of research into it and stuff, and we did hear the same kind of things again and again, which was a lot of people said, "Oh, I did try and adopt, but actually, it's really difficult to adopt, or for different reasons." Or we went to a shelter, we tried to adopt, and they said no, so we bought a dog. We had that quite often, and so kind of what Only Rescues aims to do is to give a platform to a lot of the smaller shelters that you might not have heard of, that you might not have gone to. And they do fantastic work, really, really amazing work. Shelter staff are usually overloaded with everything. A lot of them are volunteers. They work full-time jobs, and then they're rescuing, in the evenings, at weekends, or they are getting paid, which is great. But they are every day seeing the heartbreak, the neglect, the cruelty. And when you're an animal lover, to see that every day and then to get up the next day and do it all over again they really are the most incredible people. The shelter staff that we were talking to, that a lot of them don't have, a marketing team or even a snazzy website, that's that kind of thing. So it was talking to them saying any kind of platform that you can provide that gives people a user-friendly experience like Only Rescues is great for that. And we're totally free for shelters. That's one of the big reasons for doing this was to just give shelters an extra option of way to kind of promote their pets. So the idea is, if you do apply for a pet and you are rejected, don't be disheartened, because there's so many other shelters out there you might never have heard of who just might have the right pet for you. So I think that's something we hear a lot, is people just saying, "Oh, we tried to adopt and we were rejected." And I think it's also not taking that rejection too personally. I know it's really hard when someone sees all your circumstances written out in a form. They go, "Oh, no, not for you." I know it's easy to go, "Oh, well, I'll forget you then. I'm going to go and buy one somewhere else." But there's other shelters that will have different criteria and different pets and things. And that's one of the great things about Only Rescues. We're partnered with over 200 rescue organisations and growing. So, even if you apply for one pet and for whatever reason it doesn't work out, actually, when you use Only Rescues and you set up an account, you save all of your answers in an application form to your profile. So if you apply for a pet and it doesn't work out, you don't have to fill in the form again. It's all saved there. And so you can just apply for another pet with a perhaps different shelter and then perhaps have a different outcome. So yeah, I've gone off on a ramble, and I don't think you asked me that question at all, but that's something that comes up.
It was on the tip of my tongue anyway. So I was going to say, like, obviously, it's a very streamlined process. And I think another thing about, if you get rejected, is from my experience and from talking with others, is sometimes it's just because, like, although you may have the loving environment, you may have stuff, but depending on what the pet is or the breed and stuff like that, like, especially hyperactivity, they need to be walked maybe 3 times a day. They're just trying to make sure the circumstances will fit with you. So then you're also like, it can work with you, because at the end of the day, if you can't match the pet's needs as well, then that'll also be detrimental and not very happy. And you end up, unfortunately, bringing the pet back. So it's like, I can't cope, especially with the really hyperactive breeds that need to run probably at least 10 miles per day. If you haven't got the outdoor space or the time to go literally run with them, they just want to make sure that everyone's okay. It's a bit, like the dating profiles, if you're a vegetarian and you're going to go out with a meat lover, it could work, very some chance, but obviously the likelihood of it actually working out would probably be really hard for it to actually work.
Yeah, and do you know what's funny you say that, because I'm a vegetarian, my husband's a meat lover, but we've made it work, so it's all good.
It can be doable, but obviously you've got to assess the situation. That's why the application forms are important, aren't they?
Exactly. And actually, with Only Rescues, what you do is when you first download the app, you have a lifestyle quiz to complete, which is just 7 or 8 questions, depending on your answers. And it will then only match you with pets that actually match your criteria. So, for example, if you don't have a garden, you'll only see pets that could live in a home without a garden. If you have young children, you'll only see pets that can live with young children. All those sorts of things. It's kind of the big key questions that we match you on initially. So the idea being that hopefully you'll only fall in love with a profile of one of the pets that you're already kind of matched with on the key criteria. So when you apply for a pet, you're only seeing ones that you're already suitable for. And when that application goes off to the shelter, they know that you're already sort of pre-matched on the key things anyway. So we're more likely to see a successful adoption go through because you've already got those kind of key measures in place. So that's, yeah, absolutely one of the things we do. It's a bit like completing your own dating profile before you start matching with the pets, so that you know your chances are high of getting a yes because you've got the key things in place. Because that was another thing when we started Only Rescues, we spoke to a lot of shelters, and we expected them all to say, "Oh, we don't get many applications for our pets. Please help us generate more applications." But actually, when we spoke to them, most shelters said, "Oh, we do get applications, but they're often the wrong people for the wrong pets, or the right people for the wrong pet." So they were saying, actually to pre-match them will really helps on both sides, because on one side the shelters aren't spending time going through lots of different applications which were never suitable for that pet in the first place, and from the adopter side you're not applying and waiting to hear back and crossing your fingers for a pet that actually you probably never were suitable for in the first place. So this way we're kind of eliminating some of that, because I know what it's like. You see one picture of a dog and it can be a blurry picture and you're like, "I love that dog, that dog's mine, that's it, it's happening." You just fall in love. So we're trying to not even show you the ones that you're not suitable for, so that we can eliminate that falling in love at first glance thing, which we're all guilty of. So it's, yeah, we do bypass some of that.
It was really amazing to hear. Is there anything else you'd like to add on the end of? We're at the end of the episode now. Is there anything else you'd like to add about Only Rescues, kind of what you get up to, if anyone's interested in possibly downloading the app, that sort of thing?
I mean, absolutely, please download the Only Rescues app. It's in the Play Store and App Store, and just search for Only Rescues, or it's on onlyrescues.com. There's the links through to the app there. Tell your friends and family about it. Anyone that's looking, someone says, "Oh, we're thinking of buying a dog," so please just check out Only Rescues first and have a look. Or if you know of a shelter near you that might not know about us, please get in touch. But we're also, this year, we're delivering our first ever Rescue Pet Awards. So we're doing a national awards ceremony this November, which is going to celebrate the pets, the people, the shelters, the brands that all champion rescue. It's going to be a huge celebration of all things rescue pet. And so if anyone wants to nominate their rescue dog or cat for Rescue Dog or Cat of the Year, you can check that out as well. It'd be lovely to see some nominations coming in.
That sounds absolutely amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on today and discussing this amazing app with me.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you for having me. Very grateful.